Oh, here we go. Here we go. Yet another school pew pew. Oh, Lord.
New photos have surfaced of the transgender ex-student.
And what's with the track record now with several shooters now being trans? Well, what the hell is going on here? Feels not random.
That police say is responsible for the deadly school shooting that took place in a remote part of British Columbia. Now that's Jesse on your screen. You can see full name Jesse Van Rutselaar showing off with glee a rifle, smiling broadly while sitting on a couch with another person. Now, according to other photographs, this is sort of like the only photo that we've seen of him where he was actually smiling broadly. Many on Facebook had him sort of tight-lipped. Now, police say the suspect was found dead from what appeared to be a, quote, self-inflicted injury. The suspect is accused of killing 2 family members at home before opening fire at Tumbler Ridge Secondary School, killing at least 6 and wounding at least 24 others. Watch here.
I will say this, we identified the suspect as they chose to be identified in public and in social media. I can say that Jesse was born as a biological male who approximately, in the information that I have, approximately 6 years ago began to transition to female and identified as female both socially and publicly.
In New York Post, opinion writer Bethany Mandel writes that she wants the mainstream media to quit gaslighting the public on trans mass shooters. A fascinating op-ed, Carly, that went into the fact that the media is sort of stoking and fomenting this dysphoria and potentially a lot of negative and fatal consequences.
Yeah, and when I first read about this yesterday, it was reported that a female school shooter died from a self-inflicted gunshot wound. And I thought, wow, that is rare, unless wound up being the case here. And, you know, I think this is a delicate thing to talk about because gender dysphoria is a real thing, and the people who have it do not want to feel like they are stuck in the wrong bodies. But even when those people commit the most horrific act you can, which is taking the life or lives of other people, this happens repeatedly. There are members of the media who will, yes, report the crimes, but then seemingly give a hat tip to the killer by using their preferred pronoun and using their preferred gender. And in some way,
That is a little strange. Was this in Canada? I was hearing it was in Canada. I was kind of zoning out while watching this. I had several things going through my mind thinking about this. It's just sad. 10 people, 24 wounded, took out family members at home. You know, I assume trans people go through certain mental evaluations before having certain things done. I would hope. If they're not, well, they need to. You know what I'm saying? To make sure that everything else is okay. Other than you believing you're in the wrong body, is there anything else that you feel may be amiss in your life so that stuff like this doesn't happen? You know what I'm saying?
insinuating that the killer is still a victim here. And that sort of thinking is part of the problem because you're turning a blind eye to a trend of violence. And one line that I'll use from Bethany Mandel's op-ed, she says, when young people are spiraling, we shouldn't ignore the signs because then more violence happens as a result of that. And that's the trend that we continue to see here.
That's true.
Haley, as Carly mentioned, that this horrific trend.
I mean, if you notice any of your family members or friends are spiraling, you need to get a hold of it, no matter how old they are, because you never know what could happen. They could hurt themselves, other people. You know what I'm saying?
Minneapolis, Nashville, BC, the alleged murder of Charlie Kirk. And again, Bethany writes, look, every time this happens, there's a pattern that the media follows. Frantic efforts to minimize the identity, not release the fact that it's transgender.
That's true.
Sanitize language, she writes, and insist nothing meaningful could possibly be extrapolated from that fact. What do you say?
Yeah, you just listed other examples of trans shooters. I mean, they're there, and they are recent. Nashville, Minneapolis, you listed them.
What
and
is going on
the
with
media
that?
doesn't give us the facts. I thought it was the job of the media to give us all the facts.
Why are they all so recent? Like, what? You know what I'm saying?
Then we can make our own conclusions as a society about what to think about those facts. But they're actively concealing the facts because they have an agenda. And they did this with Tyler Robinson. And you can go find the endless clips of people in the media saying, oh, Tyler Robinson didn't have a motive. Are you kidding me? Everyone in this country knows what Charlie Kirk stood for. Do not tell me that that young man did not have a motive. Indeed, he did. But they concealed the motive.
I never heard that. That they said he didn't have a motive. Kind of figured what it was, you know what I mean? Especially after, yeah, like I said, I don't catch every news broadcast. So, he was dating someone that was trans, right? So, like, as soon as you hear that, you're assuming he had an issue with Charlie Kirk.
They conceal the facts. We need to start having evidence-based conversations. And I'm tired of being lied to. Is a biological man stronger than a biological woman? Yes, the evidence is there. Are cross-sex hormones or hormone replacement therapy healthy for young people? Well, in this country, we just say, yes, let's rush the meds on people. In Europe, they actually have evidence-based scientific conversations. And they say that it's a very low chance that these have an efficacy with young people. Should young children be getting life-altering surgery like vasectomies? No, they should not. But we can't have these conversations in this country because people have agendas. What happened to the science, the evidence, the facts? That is the point we should be operating from.
And I thought another great...
I always thought it was strange that they, you can start transitioning really young, but you can't buy a firearm, you can't vote, and you can't drink, you can't get into certain bars and all this other stuff. But that's one thing you can do that it's a highly major decision in your life.
Point, Harris, that Bethany made was one of perceived compassion. And she talked about this, as my paraphrasing, that the kid gloves that the media and often the left use with people who are going through these identity issues with such compassion as to, again, sanitize, to ignore, to not even discuss, means that, she says, goes from compassion to criminal. Because by not naming, by not discussing an issue or saying, yeah, we clearly have this problem, then people, by getting ignored or by getting, sort of outside of that conversation, are leading to real dire effects.
Look, I think Carly put it best. You said when young people are spiraling, we cannot ignore that. I think that's really where we are at this moment. I think that by not labeling people the way that they want to be seen, that's not the beginning of the conversation. The beginning of the conversation was what was going on with that person before they got to the point where they were willing to kill others and themselves. And that spiraling doesn't just happen overnight. And can we just all break it real for a moment? It hurts to know that you don't belong. And for whatever reason you don't belong, you know you don't. And when other people act like they need to protect you by not seeing you the way that you want to be seen, and they don't...
Well, I'll tell you this. I don't think you should ever get to a point to where you feel you don't belong. So I think everyone should be welcomed. If you've got an issue, talk to somebody, talk to your friends, talk to anyone that can help you, because, I growing up, I had, I wasn't like a lot of other people, everybody else was, doing everything that the kids were doing. I was raised Jehovah's Witness, so it was a little different for me. A lot of them were already, just being what you would see in the movies. Having sex, drinking, smoking, fighting, all types of things. While I was just playing video games and going to school and running track and talking to my friends. And, I wasn't into a lot of that stuff. In a certain way, I felt out of place, but I knew why. It was because I wasn't doing everything they were doing. It wasn't a bad feeling out of place. Sometimes it's a good feeling to know that you're not like the rest. You know what I'm saying? But the situations where, someone might feel like they're not in the right body or whatever other issue they may have, you're going to want to get that sorted out. Just so what I'm saying is there's certain situations where not being part of the crowd or feeling you belong, it's fine. Other ones, not so fine. And you might want to, get some help with the situation.
Want to call a crime what it is based on who you think you are, and they can't identify the truth and so on and so forth. you're not just enabling, you are complicit in that person's already deranged view of what pain relief feels like. We've got to start to get real that when someone is going through a situation where they think they want to transition physically, you've got to start to treat the holistic person, all of them. Look, sweetie, I love you. Let's go get you help, son or daughter. Let's start the conversation early. It's okay to need help. Now, I'm not saying that all people who are transgender have a mental issue. I'm saying that they feel already like they don't belong. And if you've ever felt that way, then you know a little love and help is always necessary and always welcome.
I'm glad that you said it that way, because for those of us that love the Lord and know Jesus, we know that there's no such thing as don't belong. And so if someone comes to you, if a young person comes to you, that kind of feeling, you can immediately reassure them that,
you know, it may not be mental. There may be a hormonal situation that's changing how they think. You get what I'm saying? It kind of reminds me of certain bodybuilders talking about how certain hormones that they would take would make them think differently. Now, I'm not just talking about aggressively. Like, there are certain bodybuilders out there that said after doing certain drugs that they started to become attracted to men, the same sex. I didn't see any women saying that, but to tell you the truth, the fact that when women are on performance-enhancing drugs, it makes them more masculine. It wouldn't surprise me if I found out that a female bodybuilder said that after taking the performance-enhancing drugs that they felt a need to be with women. You get what I'm saying? So it's a very interesting situation. I'm assuming that something like this can truly be hormonal. You know, they talk about the stuff that they put in our food, the chemicals, the microplastics, stuff like that can mimic estrogen. It wouldn't surprise me if a scientist came out and said, look, a lot of these foods have estrogen mimicking factors inside of them. If a boy eats enough of them while he's especially going through puberty, he may start to have confusing thoughts to where he may start to feel that he's a female because of this disconnect of too much estrogen in his body. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know exactly what the situation is, but I've seen a few things on it, and it's a sad situation to have to go through that. You know, to not know where you belong, if you belong in a female body or a male body.
that God does not make mistakes, and you are perfect just the way you are
created.
Because
we ourselves have felt it.
That's right.
Well, see, we're not perfect the way we're created, because if you are someone that's Christian, the Bible says that we have inherited sin. And with inheriting that sin, imperfection. So we're going to have certain things that may be amiss when we are born or in development, or no matter what it is. No one's perfect. You've heard that phrase before. Well, it's true, because you can find something amiss with anyone on this planet. You can't point to one person on this planet and say that they are perfect in every single way, shape, and form. It could be something mentally. It could be something physically. You don't know what it can be. Energetic. You know what I mean? So.
You know it.
Now, another point made as well, Doctor, you said you had a background in psychiatry. The point that Bethany made was that the issue isn't gender identity at all, or just identity. It's mistreated or misdiagnosed or undiagnosed mental illness.
Yeah, and that's a huge part of this. I want to double down on a couple of points that were just made. Carly's point that we should have sensitivity to gender dysphoria is not the same thing as saying we should ignore the need for mental health intervention.
Right.
And to Kaylee's point, let's today evidence-based.
You know what the whole thing reminds me of too? Because I grew up in the gym. Started working out when I was 18. And there's these guys out there that just feel as though they need to be a 300-pound massive Hulk that cracks the ground when he walks, when humans were never meant to look that way. And they're so believing. They have that body dysmorphia to where they feel like they just have to take these drugs. You know what I mean? To have that, it's in the gym. The gym is a community, and in the gym you will find the gym goer community is so. It's interesting to me, and I started to notice it the older I got. I mean, when I was in the best shape of my life, my body almost became a crutch for me. And I ended up having a friend later who admitted that to me. He was like, yeah, my body's my crutch, man. And it's because we were kind of having a conversation of, sometimes we might have been getting a little soft and we wanted to make sure we were still cut and hard. And especially like when it came to women, we wanted to make sure we were in the best of shape because our body attracted so many women, and then there was a point in my life where, I was just going through a lot of things and I was kind of out of shape. I was still in shape, but I was kind of out of shape and I didn't look my best and I was still pulling chicks. Like they were still coming at me, good ones. And I was just like, maybe I don't need to lean on this being the, you know what I'm saying? Having the godlike body at all times. I don't have to have that. And keep in mind, I've never been on PEDs. The most I've ever done is creatine. So, but I was one of the fortunate ones where people always thought I was on it when I wasn't, which was great. I'm not willing to take that risk. So that's where they're connected, There's a thing, where the people that feel as though they need to be 300 pounds, someone feels they need to be in someone else's body. And these are conflicts. And these people are willing to do anything that they can to achieve it. And then when they achieve it, they're not always happy. You know what I'm saying? Like there's a lot of insecurity in the gym. I noticed that with men and women. Sometimes you'll become friends with some of the hottest chicks in there. And after you're talking to them, you're like, my God, this chick is arguably a 10. And she is insecure as hell. You see some of these dudes, Giga Chads, and they are very insecure. I was just watching a dude talking to his significant other online, and you saw all his insecurity come out. He was saying stuff that I ain't going to even name him, but he was saying stuff he should not have been saying. He showed his insecurity in one specific area highly. And I was just like, dog, oh my God. I would love to have had a conversation with him after that. Those words would have never come out of my mouth. There's another influencer that I saw a few months back saying stuff while filming something with another YouTuber. And I was like, dog, like you claim to be this super alpha male. You just showed your hand. Dude said 2 things. I was like, I never have to do that with my woman. Ever. Like, I know a lot of y'all out there watch, a lot of people I watch. I know y'all can't probably know who the hell who the 2 guys are I'm talking about. The insecurity is massive in the fitness community. There's a lot of good people in the community too, but my God, you'll find out that a lot of them aren't in there because of health. It's insecurity, and they have to look a certain way, and they're always competing with other people online and Instagram, and jealous of this person, jealous of that person. There's one dude I know told me that when his buddies started to, it's weird. He asked him, like they were kind of both cross promoting each other, and the one homeboy told him he didn't want to cross promote him because he didn't want him taking all the girls. The one was willing to cross promote one, but the one wasn't really willing to cross promote the other. And they're friends.
here. And you know, the left did a big disservice for decades trying to prove that once you transitioned, you were happier. Recent studies show the opposite. That there's more disturbance that way, and we should actually have the medical literature show the truth. And the truth is, if you're on hormones, or if you think you're in the wrong body, or if you're thinking of surgeries, that's not a position of mental health strength. That's a position of can we help you? Can we support you? And that type of sensitivity is really important. And that a person might be then more at risk of violence, maybe from the hormones alone.
Yeah.
We have to look at it that way.
Know.
We're always, it's for political correctness, we're looking at issues of let's not offend these people, but what about the people that end up being victims?
Mm-hmm. Hey everyone, I'm
Yeah, man, this is it's a pretty pickle. This is wild. My God. Oh, Lord. Man. All right, y'all. I am going to do this state of play. This hour-long state of play that Sony had. That'll be the next video up. Post your comments down below. Let me know what you think of this situation.